So first things first, Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You're in Milan now. How's the tour going?
It's amazing. It's so much even better than when we were here in 2019. So I think the path of the hell we create has helped a lot.
I think for you personally, you've been through quite some eventful years. What is and then having written an album partly about a lot of those things, what is it like now to be able to perform those songs for people?
It feels amazing, especially for the path because when we recorded the path, we it was before the pandemic, so we didn't think about not being able to play shows because we everything was normal.
Sure.
Um, so it's cool to finally get to play those because the live show is a big part of that record, probably more than a lot of the other records. And then the hell we create, we wrote after our first tour back after the pandemic. So we were very motivated to get to writing. So we kind of avoided the whole pandemic album. We didn't write at all during the pandemic.
That was I suppose that's was that a liberating thing to not have to worry because you had other things going on at the time as well.
Yeah, it was more the it was a mixture of there's other things, and when you're stressed and have anxiety, it's I don't. None of us like writing when we're anxious. Anxious is like a bad. And a lot of us were like, who knows if we'll even get to play shows ever again. And on top of that, we all live very far apart, and travel wasn't very common during the
Right.
pandemic.
Would you talk about the live show? And what I find it interesting. You mentioned the path and feeling excited to play those songs. And this is just my interpretation, but those that album was kind of finding your path. So it was more, yeah, but more, how would you put it? Motivational, more optimistic in a sense. And then the two albums, or the one before and the one after, they have these heavy subjects. So how do you balance those things and those dynamics within a show?
I think it's a lot of just learning. I think it does help with the show's dynamics, as you said, because it gives the show some emotional
Mm.
variance as opposed to just feeling the same the entire time. I think the best way to balance it is to just find the best spots. Like, all right, this time of the set, we'll make it a more serious tone, and then we'll transition into a more fun tone and then more triumphant. It kind of takes the crowd on an emotional journey through the set.
You personally, then, are you taken away by those songs? Because obviously you've heard all of them a million times, but when you are up there and singing those songs as close as they are to you, do you get swayed in the moment?
I think yes, sometimes a lot goes through my head. The songs, a lot of it is making sure I nail my vocals and me telling me to be careful, don't ruin your voice, don't go too hard, don't go too soft. So there's my head has a million things going in it, including the meaning of the lyrics. It's honestly harder live to focus on one thing as opposed to the studio because in the studio it doesn't matter if I blow my voice out, I can just rest.
No, but
But on tour you have to make sure it's good for 30 straight days. You need to interact with the crowd. You have to make sure your equipment is working properly. We're in the studio, it's a lot easier to just be all about the emotion.
no, but I did see. I think it was on your own YouTube channel where you did those one take things and you kind of showed how the vocals come about, and that's really interesting to listen to without kind of any filters or whatever to see the way you use your voice. So what was the emphasis this time around on the Hell We Create? What did you want to focus on vocally?
The big focus on the Hell We Create was putting more emotion into my singing vocals and like adding not just like the right note or the whatever, but like putting emotion into the notes.
Was it kind of inevitable that that was going to happen because of the subject matter of some of the songs?
I think so. And there are times like, but there were times even in the past where it would be an emotional song, but my vocal skill wouldn't allow me to do certain things. So practicing and getting better at doing it allows me to show more of the emotion.
Lyrically, then that's obviously a huge part of it, and getting so close to the bone in a way. What was that different or difficult for you, or was that always part of the way you write songs?
I'd always had a harder time opening up on records. It was just something I didn't do a lot. I did a little bit here and there, but this record, the band really encouraged me to like let it all out and really helped push. And it definitely felt very therapeutic and very genuine.
Yeah, well, what was different than other times around?
I'd just say with everything going on with my family and everything that happened through the pandemic with us adopting kids and my wife having a stroke and all that, there's just a lot more to open up about. Before that, there wasn't, outside of mental health issues, which it's hard to write an original song about mental health issues.
Yeah.
Even though everybody's issues are very unique to them, it's hard to write a song that's been written a lot, it feels like. So finding original ways to say something about mental health. But this record, there was so much beyond that. There was a lot of mental health things, and we wrote songs about that. But just stuff with the kids and my wife's health made it more necessary to open up.
Yeah, I think that there's from End and Falling Through the Sky and then Sink Below, those kind of three, at least to me, sound very much together as there's a red line going through it. So you mentioned the word therapeutic. So what was it going through that, and did it help at all for you to understand what was going on?
It definitely helped me digest everything that had happened, because some of the stuff we wrote about was already done and had passed. So it definitely helped me like digest it and understand it more, being able to write about it.
Creation Destruction is your favorite record. Do you have one that sticks out for you? And it's a little bit unfair to ask it to you, but
I mean, it's always natural for me to be like, oh, the newest record is my favorite, but I'd say it either has to be that one or Dark Skies. Dark Skies will always have a special place because it's kind of like where our band really started to gain popularity.
with that in mind, what is your vision for the band? Because you've been doing this for quite a bit and you've been quite successful. So how do you see this band operating? You even mentioned kind of during COVID times, you kind of decided, okay, we don't need to do anything. You're not going to force anything. So what is your idea of this band moving forward?
I would love to be in this band for the rest of my life and retire as a musician. And I think it's just a mixture of keep writing from the heart and tour hard. You don't even have to tour hard, just touring smart and being committed, and also making good decisions business wise. Because obviously, to retire as a musician, you have to make good decisions financially in order to retire. But yeah, I think if we just keep writing from the heart, making good decisions and working hard, touring, that's the vision. Just keep doing that.
Well, finally, then the hell we create. I really like that concept. There's I think a quote by Seneca, this Stoic philosopher, that most of our suffering takes place in the mind. So this idea of kind of the way we go about our business as human beings and making it difficult for ourselves. What are your thoughts on it, and how does music help alleviate some of it?
I definitely agree with the quote. I think there's multiple levels to it. I think we've created a hell, like almost big picture, whether it's politics or climate or whatever it is. We've created a hell for others with our actions. Like if you're a person that ends up being like an alcoholic, it can affect your family, it can affect your children, it can create a hell for everyone around you if you have substance issues or if you have mental health issues that you aren't resolving, something like that. And then there's the hell you can create in your own mind, like anxiety and like just having issues with self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and all that. I'd say anxiety above most of them as far as creating your own hell, because there's so many times that you will stress out over something happening that never ends up happening. And
Right.
you will spend forever worrying about it. It will control your days, control everything, and then it never happens. Sometimes it happens, but most of the time it doesn't happen.
And then if it does happen, usually it isn't as bad as you thought it would be, and you kind of
Probably because you've
soldier
thought
on.
of the worst. Yeah, you've thought of the worst scenario. So it's like anything that's not the worst scenario is technically better.
But how does music play a role? Maybe for you, but at least for me it does. Where music can have a big impact on my mood and kind of calm me down. So how does creating music help you through those difficult days?
I think for creating music, it can just help you process things. He said it's like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
I think,
this is it.
yeah, it's okay. They were just walking out and saying, "Oh, we'll see you later." Um, I would say creating is like with this record, it's like therapeutic. It helps you process things, putting it on paper. And so there's things I've written in anxiety, and it's a reason I don't like writing with anxiety. Is I'll write it down and realize how ridiculous it sounds, like my worries or my concerns, because in my head they sound so real and valid, but then when I put it on paper and say it out loud to my band or something, it's like, okay, that does sound a little like ridiculous that I thought that way, and it
No,
can
but
help a lot with that.
it's probably good to get those thoughts out in a way, then, because then you get that realization, and then you can move on to lyrics or themes that are even closer to you, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, and enjoy Milan. It's a beautiful city.
Oh, thank you so much. And this will be a unique interview because I don't do many interviews walking around Milan.